After 15 years in landscaping and garden design, I can walk up to any property and within 30 seconds know whether the homeowner spent money wisely or just spent it. And the gap almost never comes down to big-ticket renovations. It comes down to a handful of details that cost almost nothing but register immediately. A crisp bed edge, the right light catching the right tree at night, a path that guides you somewhere intentional, river rock where there used to be a mud splash, a bench tucked into a corner that makes the yard feel lived in. These are the things that separate a yard that looks maintained from one that looks designed. One feature on today's list is something I see missing from brand new professionally installed yards, and it changes the entire first impression of a home for under $50. Let's get into it, starting at number 12. Number 12, black metal edging along garden beds. I've walked into hundreds of properties where the homeowner has put real thought into their planting, decent shrubs, good mulch, healthy ground cover, and then completely undermined it with soft, drifting edges. The lawn creeps into the bed, the mulch spills onto the grass, and within 2 or 3 mowing cycles, the whole border dissolves into a blur. It looks unfinished, like a picture frame someone forgot to put on straight. Here's what's happening underneath. Grass rhizomes spread underground, and without a physical barrier pressed at least 3 inches into the soil, they find their way into your beds every single season. Hand weeding doesn't fix it, it just delays it. Black steel lawn edging, the thin, flexible kind sold in 5 or 10-foot sections at any hardware store or garden center, solves this permanently. Push it into the soil along your full bed perimeter, stake it every 2 to 3 feet, and leave the top edge just flush with lawn level so the mower passes clean. The line you're left with is crisp, holds through hard frost and heavy rain, and doesn't shift. What surprises people is how much that single line changes the look of everything around it. The plants inside the bed look more intentional. The lawn looks sharper. The whole property reads as cared for rather than just growing. A 20-foot roll runs between $15 and $30. Few things in garden design give you that return at that price. And speaking of quiet details that do heavy lifting, the next feature costs about the same and anchors a back patio in a way a single pot never could. Coming in at number 11, a terracotta pot cluster by the back door. The single pot problem. I see it on nearly every patio I work on. One medium pot sitting in a corner or next to a back door just looks like a placeholder. It doesn't anchor anything. It reads as, I own a pot. What professional garden designers use, almost universally, is grouping. 3 pots in meaningfully different sizes pulled close together. Tall in the back, medium in the center, low in the front. You're creating depth, and depth reads as designed. The same principle that makes a layered planting border look expensive applies here in a 3-foot footprint. Genuine terracotta is the material for this. It's porous, which means roots get better airflow, plants stay healthier, and the pots age beautifully. Within the first season, expect mineral deposits and a little moss on the lower sections. That patina is exactly what makes a terracotta grouping look established rather than planted last Tuesday. Cheap plastic or glossy glazed ceramic stays brand new looking forever, and not in a good way. 3 terracotta pots, a 12-inch, an 8-inch, and a 6-inch, can come in well under $50, especially at end-of-season sales. Plant them in the same pallet, varying only shade, and the grouping looks curated and intentional without trying too hard. Keep this idea of strategic placement in mind. I'll cover a feature in a few minutes that applies the same logic to something most yards have completely backwards, and it makes a bigger visual difference than almost anything else on this list. But first, something that is easy to overlook because it seems purely functional. It's not. Number 10. River rock tucked around downspouts. Your downspouts are functional. They move water away from your foundation. Most homeowners stop thinking about them there, which is why most downspout splash zones look exactly the same. A bare, compacted patch of eroded soil, or a scuffed piece of black plastic splash guard that curls up at the edges after one winter. Here's the thing. That spot at the base of every downspout is actually a natural design opportunity. A small bed of smooth river rock, roughly a 2-foot circle or rectangle around the downspout base, does 2 things at once. It absorbs and disperses the impact of water rushing off the roof, preventing soil erosion and foundation splashback. And it turns a functional eyesore into something that looks intentional, like you made a decision there on purpose. The key is using smooth, rounded river rock between 1 and 3 inches in diameter, not the sharp, crushed gravel you'd use for drainage trenches. Smooth stone reads as a design choice. Sharp gravel reads as a construction site. A 40-pound bag runs about $8 to $12 at most home improvement stores and will cover several downspout zones across a single property. It's the kind of detail most people don't notice consciously, but they notice that the yard looks finished. That's exactly how the best garden features work. If you're getting value out of this, go ahead and subscribe. I post videos like this every week, and there are a lot more of these small, high-impact features to cover. We're down to number 9. And this is where it starts to get interesting. This next feature is one of the most underused vertical elements in any yard. And once I explain why it works, you'll wonder why every fence doesn't have one. Number 9. A trellis against a plain fence or wall. A bare wooden fence panel is a dead surface. 6 feet of flat wood with nothing on it is just a boundary. It does its job, and it stops there. What it doesn't do is give the yard any vertical life, any softness, or any sense that the space has been thought about. A trellis changes this without a major investment. Even an unplanted, bare wooden trellis mounted flat against a fence panel gives the eye something to move along. Add a climbing rose, a clematis, or a fast-growing jasmine, and within 2 growing seasons you have a wall of green that makes the yard feel enclosed in the best possible way. Like a garden, not a lot. Here's something most people don't consider. The space between the trellis and the fence matters. Mount it with at least a 1 to 2 inch standoff, small blocks or spacers between the trellis back and the fence face. This lets air circulate behind the plant as it fills in, which prevents moisture buildup and rot on both the trellis and the fence underneath. Skip the standoff, and you'll be replacing both within 5 to 7 years. A basic wooden trellis panel runs between $20 and $40. Painted white or left natural depending on your fence finish, it looks built in rather than added on. I once worked on a property where a homeowner used 3 trellis panels along a single back fence run. By year 3, it looked like a wall you'd see in an English countryside garden. The initial spend was under $100. And while we're talking about things that make a fence look like it was designed, the next one is a detail so small most people skip it entirely, and it's one of the fastest ways to make a fence look custom. Number 8. White or cream painted fence caps. Look at the top of a standard timber fence post. Most are left raw or painted the same color as the fence face. The post just ends. No thought given to the finish. A painted fence cap, or a replacement cap slipped over the top, is the equivalent of a collar on a dress shirt. It finishes the thing. That white accent at the top of each post gives the fence a defined edge, separates it visually from the sky, and makes the whole run look specified rather than installed and forgotten. The paint approach is simplest. Sand the post top lightly, prime it, 2 coats of exterior gloss in white or warm cream. Expect 3 to 4 years before it needs refreshing. Replacement PVC or wooden post caps that slip directly over the post run $3 to $8 each at most hardware stores and need almost no maintenance. Here's a real outcome from this exact fix. I had a client who wanted to replace her entire back fence because it looked tired. We painted the post caps white, replaced 2 warped boards, and restained the rest. 3 months later, she told me 3 neighbors had stopped to ask who did the fence renovation. The fence itself hadn't changed. The caps had. At resale 2 years later, her buyer's agent described the backyard as well-maintained and detailed. That framing matters when offers come in. From the back of the property, let's move to the front. The next feature shapes the very first impression of a home before anyone reaches the door. Number 7. Solar uplighting on a specimen tree. Most yards at night are flat. The house is lit, there might be some path lights, and everything else disappears into the dark. The yard that looked decent at 4 p.m. is now just a dark lawn behind a lit-up house. No depth, no drama, no reason to go outside. Uplighting a single standout tree changes this completely. 1 or 2 solar uplights placed at the base of a mature tree, aimed upward into the canopy, wash the branches with warm light and create the kind of depth and drama you see in hotel garden courtyards. It turns a tree that was invisible after dark into the focal point of the entire yard. The key spec here is color temperature. You want warm white, 2700 Kelvin or lower. Anything cooler than that pushes into the blue-white range and makes trees look clinical and flat rather than warm and dramatic. Most solar spike lights specify their Kelvin rating on the package. If it doesn't specify, put it back. Placement matters too. Angle the fixture so the beam hits the underside of the main canopy at roughly a 45-degree angle, not straight up from the base, which creates a harsh column of light rather than a spread. 2 fixtures on opposite sides of the trunk give you even coverage without hotspots. Good quality solar uplights that hold their charge through a full evening run between $15 and $30 each. The effect on the right tree is genuinely stunning. We're halfway through this list, and the next feature is the one I see people making the most unnecessary mistakes with. It should be easy, and it almost always isn't. Number 6. A bird bath with a concrete or stone finish. I know what you're thinking. Bird bath? Really? Yes. But stay with me, because I'm not talking about the kind of thing that comes with a concrete cherub attached and a basin that turns green in a week. Those are garden cliches, and they deserve to stay in 1987 where they belong. What I'm talking about is a simple, modern cast stone or concrete basin. Clean lines, shallow bowl, muted finish, placed at the back of a planting bed, not in the middle of the lawn. Used this way, it functions as a quiet sculptural moment. It gives the eye a place to land inside the bed, creates a focal point that isn't a plant, and adds a material contrast that reads as considered. Would you do this with a plastic bird bath? Absolutely not. The material is what makes it work. Genuine cast stone develops a patina over time, light weathering and mineral bloom that makes it look like it's been there for decades. A 2-inch wall thickness is the minimum to look for. Anything thinner rings hollow and cheap when tapped. Good concrete bird baths with a natural stone finish run between $30 and $50 at most garden centers. Placement is everything. Sit it at the rear of a planting bed, slightly off-center with lower ground cover plants softening its base. From 15 feet away, it reads as an intentional design element. From 2 feet away, it's also functional. Now, from a sculptural accent inside a bed, let's talk about what you put on top of that bed, because this is where I see one of the most common low-cost swaps that people consistently overlook. Number 5, gravel or crushed stone in a planting bed. Bark mulch is the default. It's everywhere, it's cheap, and it does its job. But there's a ceiling on how good bark mulch can look, and that ceiling is lower than most people think. Dark bark mulch fades to gray within 1 season. Dyed red or brown mulch holds color for about 6 months, then looks patchy and washed out. And the texture of bark mulch, that same chunky shredded look, reads as generic regardless of what it's covering. Swap it for pea gravel, crushed granite, or decomposed granite in at least one key bed, particularly a front yard bed or a bed framing an entry, and the visual quality jumps immediately. The stone finish looks clean and architectural. It doesn't fade. It doesn't float away in a heavy rain the way bark does. And combined with drought-tolerant plantings like lavender, ornamental grasses, or agave, it reads as genuinely designed rather than just maintained. The practical side, a 2-inch layer of pea gravel at between $8 and $12 per 50-pound bag will cover a standard front border. It also suppresses weeds effectively and reflects heat away from plant roots in summer rather than trapping moisture the way bark can. One real downside, gravel is permanent in the sense that it's slow to remove, so use it in a bed where the planting scheme is settled. This is also the feature that pairs powerfully with crisp black metal edging from number 12. The stone finish inside that edge looks intentional in a way that bark next to a sloppy border never does. And from what goes on top of the bed, let's talk about what goes along the edge of the bed, but at a larger scale, along your entire front border. Number 4, a garden bench tucked into a corner. Here's something most homeowners don't think about. A yard without seating doesn't feel like a place you live in. It feels like a space you look at. The bench doesn't have to be used. In fact, in many of the best designed yards I've worked on, the bench gets sat on occasionally, not daily. What it does is signal that the space was designed for a person to be in, not just to maintain. The placement is the whole thing, not centered on a patio or floating in the middle of the lawn. Tucked into a back corner, with planting on 2 or 3 sides, ideally facing back toward the house. This position makes the yard feel like it has rooms, a destination point that draws you in and turns around to give you a view. A simple wooden bench, cedar or teak for outdoor durability, since both hold up without paint for 10 or more years with minimal care, runs $30 to $50 for an entry-level piece. A cast iron bench of basic design, which weathers beautifully, is in the same range secondhand. If you've made it this far, you already know more about garden design than most homeowners I've worked with. These aren't secrets, exactly. They're just the details that get skipped when nobody tells you where to look. I once staged a yard for a homeowner preparing to sell. The yard was functional but felt flat. We added a bench in the back corner, planted ornamental grass on 2 sides of it, and ran a simple gravel path out to it. The listing agent told us afterward that during viewings, buyers consistently walked the path to the bench and stood there. That moment of arrival, of feeling like the yard had somewhere to go, changed how people felt about the whole property. From a corner destination, we move back to the front of the property, and a detail that changes the edge of every bed along your front border. Number 3, a defined stone or paver entry path. Walk up to a house with no path, or with one of those scattered informal stepping stone trails, and the front of the property just feels unresolved. You walk on the grass, or you find the stones, or you guess your way to the door. Even subconsciously, that experience reads as unfinished. A defined path, even a short one, just the 12 to 15 feet from the sidewalk to the front door, changes the entire arrival experience. It tells a visitor exactly where to go. It organizes the front yard visually by splitting it into planted areas with purpose, and it gives you something to anchor low plantings against, which makes those beds look more intentional too. Flat flagstone, reclaimed brick, or tumbled concrete pavers in a warm gray or natural tone are the materials that age best. Lay them on a 2 2-inch sand base with a narrow gap between each stone, no more than half an inch, and top-dress the joints with fine decomposed granite or sand to lock them in place. Avoid large gaps filled with grass or ground cover between stones. Within 2 growing seasons, those gaps weed over and the path looks neglected. The path doesn't need to be wide. 18 to 24 inches handles comfortable single-file foot traffic, which is all a front entry path needs to do. A set of reclaimed pavers or flagstone pieces for a 15-foot run comes in well under $50 at salvage yards and landscape suppliers. And from the path that brings you to the door, now we arrive at number 2, the single element that most underperforms in nearly every yard I see, even when everything else is dialed in. Number 2, a stone or concrete garden border along a front bed. Plastic or rubber edging is everywhere. It's cheap, it installs fast, and it flexes above the soil line within 1 season, popping out of the ground in little waves, splitting at the joints, and fading from black to a washed-out brown-gray. Walk past any suburban street, and you'll see it. That wavy plastic lip separating the lawn from the front bed, buckled where a mower caught it or a frost heaved it up, replacing it or installing edging properly from the start with a row of tumbled concrete blocks. Flat field stone or stacked natural stone is one of the most permanent visual upgrades you can make to a front yard. The stone border sits solidly, doesn't shift or fade, and gives the bed a defined, established edge that reads as built rather than inserted. Tumbled concrete edging blocks run between $1 and $2 per linear foot at most home improvement stores. For a standard front bed, say 25 feet, that's well within range. Alternatively, flat fieldstone picked up at a landscape supplier for around $20 to $30 for a small quantity looks more natural and informal, which works particularly well in cottage-style or naturalistic planting schemes. Here's the thing about a proper stone border. It ages in your favor. The material weathers in, develops a little moss or lichen, and over 5 to 10 years, it looks like it's always been there. The plastic version does the opposite. It just deteriorates. From the front bed, we arrive at number 1. And this is the one I teased at the start. Number 1, a single outdoor lantern at the front door. Every home has a porch light. Most of those lights were installed by the builder, chosen for a unit cost of around $12 to $18, and installed on the day of handover with no design intention whatsoever. They're functional. They illuminate the keyhole. They do nothing else. Now here's what I want you to think about. The front door area of your home is the frame for every first impression that property ever makes. The path we talked about brings someone there. The bed border and the stone edging and the climbing plants all support it. But the thing that sits right next to the door, mounted at eye level, lit at night, visible from the street, is the porch fixture. And when that fixture is a small brass button or a flat disc with a frosted glass globe, it undercuts everything around it. An oversized black or aged brass outdoor lantern, the kind with proper proportions, a clear or seated glass panel, and a solid metal body, costs between $30 and $60 at most hardware stores and home improvement centers. You don't need an electrician for a like-for-like swap. It uses the same mounting bracket and wiring as the existing fixture. What changes is the visual weight. A well-proportioned lantern at a front door makes the house look like someone chose it, not like it came with the home. At night, the light quality is different too. A lantern casts a more diffuse directional glow than a recessed disc, which creates warmth rather than just illumination. Warm white bulbs at 2,700 Kelvin or lower inside the fixture complete the effect. I have worked on properties where this single swap, one fixture, 1 hour of work, made people stop and reconsider what they thought the house was worth. Not because it changed the house, because it changed the signal the house was sending before you ever walked inside. Pick the one feature on this list that you can do this weekend and start there. One crisp edge, one lantern, one well-placed bench. The cumulative effect is what people notice. And if you want to protect everything you're building out there, my video on the garden choices that quietly kill your property value is on your screen right now. Click it.